This 1953 Smith Corona silent typewriter came to me recently, and it needed a lot of work. A lot of the linkages that connect the type bars to the keys were broken and needed to be replaced. There was a lot of dirt and gunk in the machine, including eraser shavings, dust and old WD-40. The ribbon vibrator, the color selector and the backspace all didn't work, and the escapement only worked intermittently. And besides that, as I mentioned before, most of the keys did not work. The machine definitely seen its fair share of use and abuse, as could be told when I got this machine first. The case that it came with also has suffered some damage. The case also suffered significant damage. It had a lot of watermarks on it, which took a long time to clean off. The corners all have their wear marks, where the material comes off from the wood of which the case is made. Of course, with the watermarking on top, it worried me when I got the machine that if I opened it, it wouldn't close again, because if wood gets wet, it gets warped. However, the lock still matches up as it should, opens and closes as it should, and the inside is actually in pretty good condition, considering there's no scratches or damages. So it definitely held up well and protected the machine. There's a little bit of rust on the locking mechanism, but it still works fine, and on one of the hinges. Otherwise, the machine is a bit, musty. It smells musty, but otherwise it's in good shape and definitely will last a bit longer. After a lot of work, the machine eventually came to a point where it can be used fully. Cosmetically, the machine isn't in very good condition. As you can see, the paint has definitely some strain marks. There's a point where probably the carriage return chipped off that part. But here at the front, I think some corrosion has gotten to it, and here's the mark where you rest your wrist on the frame in order to type. Here on the other side, that is also present, as you can see. The top cover is not that bad, it has a few marks. On the inside, the original foam is still present and in good condition. The machine also still has the original spools, the Smith Corona spools, which say they are made in USA. This one has a little bit of corrosion, but I'll make an attempt to clean it off and repaint it. The ribbon in it was still good, so I left it in there. It's still usable, although it is getting a little bit dry now. And here's the inside, the type basket. As you can see, some of the keys are misaligned, and that's because I had to remake the linkages that connect the keys to the type bars, because, well, they were missing and bent up and everything. So they don't exactly match, but all the keys function, which is, I think, most important. Now, cleaning this machine, it was very difficult, and as you can see, there's still some marks in there, and it appears that it's just loose dust and eraser shavings, but for some reason it doesn't come off. It's like glue is mixed with all that dirt, and it just doesn't come off. So I've decided to leave it in there, because I've tried brushes, wire sponges, or what do you call that, wire material, WD-40, things like that to clean off. So of course I clean off the WD-40 too, because that's killer to a machine, but it does help when it comes to cleaning. However, it's still in there, it won't come off. I've tried my best to clean most of it off, and as you can see, it came out pretty good. It's mostly on both sides where the spools are located, where that grime is, but besides that, it's very clean. The escapement is now fully functional, and the only corrosion that I could find in the mechanism was actually on the frame over here. Otherwise, the machine is rust free. The feet are also in very good condition. That's one of the things I was surprised about when I got this machine, is that the platen and the support rollers are all still in good condition. They're quite rubbery still, so that's a plus, because usually on Smith Coronas the platen tends to age pretty bad. They get pretty hard, as do the Royals and the Hermes typewriters. Underwood's, well, They're decent, but they're not perfect, and usually Smith Coronas, they tend to harden up, but this one is still in good shape and still grabs the paper pretty well. And as you can see, here's the paper support. It says silent. Here's Smith Corona, as it does say here. Here we have 6 manual tab stops, as you can see. I think on the later models they made these automatic, but as you can see, these are still the loose manual tab stops that you have to remove and reposition. Now, Smith Corona made a couple of lines of types of these typewriters. So this is the Smith Corona Silent. You also had the Smith Corona Sterling. And in the late 60s, early 70s, they also brought on the market the Super Sterling, the Classic 12, and there were various models. Now, the Silent, I think they stopped manufacturing those in the early 60s. However, the Smith Corona Sterling is virtually identical and was made until the late 70s. So this is definitely a long line of typewriters, and this particular one, according to the serial number, was made in 1953, so it's definitely an early one. It still features the original paper fingers that were present on the old Smith Corona clippers. And I think they removed those around 1960. They started this is also a 3-point paper bill, so 1, 2, 3. But eventually they removed the paper fingers. I suppose they seemed unnecessary. Personally, I do prefer them because they hold the page in place pretty good, especially if you have multiple pages in order to get good printing. But I have no preference. They're there or they're not. And now we'll do a brief typing sample of this Smith Corona Silent. And as you can see, even if I lift the paper bell, the paper fingers will hold the page in place. Right now it's set on black. The color selector didn't work originally, it was stuck on red, so I had to work the mechanism on the inside. Eventually it allowed the options, but it still isn't perfect. Anyway, here we go. And here is the type sample. And I have to say, these are definitely very nice machines. They are very durable. They can take a beating. I've had a couple of these, also the newer models. And I've seen some that are cosmetically in terrible condition, literally where the carriage would turn scraped over the front of the machine, or this is completely worn out. But usually the mechanism has survived pretty well and usually can do a bit more. It's quite amazing how well these machines are made. Of course, one thing that can be thanked to is the fact that the mechanism is built into a separate frame and is not directly mounted to the bodywork as some other machines were made. So literally the body can be taken off the machine, which I've done for cleaning, and you can see how well it is made in order to protect the mechanism. So